Drama at my drama class. One time, my drama class teacher had gone home sick, so we were just put in a classroom with a movie to entertain us for the period when an alarm went off. None of us were sure if it was the fire alarm or the lockdown alarm, so we all headed out into the hall to check, and no one was out there. So we went back in the classroom and climbed under our desk as we do in the lockdown procedure. Cut to an hour or so later when a teacher burst in the classroom and nearly dies of relief because the school was on fire. We were the only students not accounted for, and half of the faculty and fire department had been searching for us this whole time. Literally, the whole school had filled with smoke while we were in the classroom hiding under our wooden desk.
Story time about how my stepmom got with my boyfriend. So a little background information, I was 18 and it was my senior year of high school. And my mom and my dad got a divorce whenever I was 11 years old. My dad moved to a whole other state. My sister went with him, and then my brother and I stayed with my mom. Because my mom said it was a time where we need our mom in our lives. But to be honest, I think she just wanted child support. Anyways, after elementary school, I moved back in with my dad. And at the time, he was dating this woman who we're going to call Carol. And she was like the sweetest girl I'd ever met. I actually called her mom even though they weren't married because I was so close to her. So fast forward, they get married. I'm super happy for them. My senior year of high school, I start dating this guy named Paul. Well, since I was close with Carol, I told her about him first. After a while of him and I dating, she suggested that he should come over for dinner. So I ended up inviting him to this party that my dad hosts every year. And I was super excited. Well, I see him and Carol talking, and I'm super happy because I want him to get along with my family. Like for part 2. Part 2 about how my stepmom got with my boyfriend. So like I said, I invited my boyfriend to this party that my dad hosts every year. And he starts talking to Carol, which I was super happy about because I wanted him to get along with my family. Well, during the party, him and Carol go missing for like half an hour. And there were a ton of people there, and my dad's house was big. So I was like, okay, maybe he got lost. So finally I find him, and then I asked him where he had been. Then he said that he went to the bathroom, which was extremely weird because I had already showed him where the bathrooms were on the first floor whenever he came to the party. So I was like, whatever. And then Carol came downstairs, but I didn't really think anything of it. Fast forward, I was on my way home from this tutoring class. My friend was driving me because I didn't have a car. Well, we get home all the way outside, and I see Paul's car in my driveway. And I was like, well, it can't be my dad because he's out of town. So I go in, I catch them, I ask them how long it's been going on. They say since the party. So I tell my dad about it, he gives her a second chance, and then I move back in with my mom.
Story time. The day my teacher stole my headphones. During my sophomore year in high school, we were doing silent work, and my history teacher said that we could listen to music, but if it was too loud, that he would break our headphones. Yes, he would actually physically break our headphones. So I'm doing my work quietly with my music on really low, but this obnoxious kid sitting next to me had his music really loud. Like I could hear it over my music, but I ignored it. My teacher thought it was me, so he comes up to me and ripped my brand new Apple headphones, looking like he did not care. He suddenly realized it was the guy next to me, and he was completely embarrassed. He came in the next day with a new pair of headphones and apology note taped to them. He could not look me in the eye for the rest of the school year.
I have decided to remain anonymous to protect my identity from the foolishness. Last night I became hungry and decided to make some ramen. I removed the various packets from the bowl, added the flavor and vegetables, then put the bowl in the microwave. After about a minute or two, I realized something was wrong. A terrible burning smell had filled my kitchen. I opened the door to my microwave, and lo and behold, I had neglected to add water. There was some smoke coming from the bowl. Not wanting to waste the ramen, I went to the sink and added water, which filled the room in acrid smoke for several seconds. I then returned the bowl to the microwave and cooked it for 2 more minutes before attempting to eat it. Well, it went okay for a little while until I discovered a globule of blackened noodles which had turned into some sort of strange crystalline substance, yet seen in nature by humankind. Moral of the story, don't forget to put water in your noodles.
This is why you should always breathe through your nose. In 2009, a Russian man named Artyom Sidorkin started experiencing intense chest pains to the point where he couldn't even stand up. He tried to ignore it, but when he started coughing up blood, he went to the emergency room. They gave him an x-ray, and it revealed a fist-sized tumor growing in his lung. Afterwards, the doctor told Mr. Sidorkin, unfortunately, it looks like cancer. But before they could start removing large chunks of his lung, the doctor needed to do a biopsy to see if it really was cancer. So a terrified Mr. Sidorkin came in a few days later. They performed the biopsy, and the surgeon, as he was looking at the tissue, noticed something. Tucked in the middle of the tissue was a 5-centimeter long fir tree. Mr. Sidorkin was a botanist, and he was a big mouth breather, and at some point while he was working, he managed to inhale a fir tree seed. The doctors told him he didn't have cancer, he had a tree. He was shocked, and he said, "I had no sense that a tree was growing in my lungs." But more than shocked, he was just happy to be cancer-free.
One time in 5th grade, I was walking back to class from the bathroom. Before I continue, I should specify 2 things. 1, my classroom was literally just around the corner from the bathroom next to the lockers. 2, there was a boy that I had a crush on for the past year in my class. Now, for whatever reason, I was swinging my arms around in a wild half windmill motion. Don't ask me why. I was just filled with childlike glee, I guess. So there I was, swinging my arms dramatically. Then just when I got to the corner, smack! I had accidentally slapped someone in the face. It took me a second to realize who it was. My crush. I was mortified, but he just started laughing. To this day, I can probably cite that as one of my top clumsy, socially inept moments.
This is why parents should believe their kids. In 2010, a 15-year-old boy started to notice that the door to his attic, which was in his bedroom, was always open. One day, when his mom's giving him a hard time about being lazy, he's like, "Well, you're one to talk. You always leave my attic door open." She's like, "I haven't touched your attic door in months, and nobody else has either." Not easily frightened, the boy decides to leave the attic door open. And so he's laying in bed, and he kind of looks over at the door, and standing in the door frame is a figure staring right at him. He bolts, tells his parents, they don't believe him, and then 6 months later they move anyway. A few years later, the boy discovers his favorite teacher actually moved into his old house. And so he jokingly asks her, "You ever see any ghosts walking around your attic?" Her face got completely serious, and she's like, as soon as we moved in, the door to the attic kept opening. So we investigated, and we found a trap door that led onto the roof. Someone had been crawling in through that entrance and living in the attic for years.